We have an awesome show for you guys today.
The greatest eventer of all time.
Good news for the sport.
Welcome to the John and Rick Show, brought to you by Horse Trailer Pros. We're in episode 16, John. This is already almost September. And, you know, the year is flying by. The season's starting up. We've got a lot of things happening, a lot of things to talk about in this opening segment. We have great guests, Laura Collett in London 52, which is on the WEG team. And then a really cool young rider, Emma Winter, from good friends of ours from over the pond.
Yeah, Amelia Winter. Amelia Winter.
I said her mother's name.
Yes.
Amelia Winter. So this is going to be great.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. And I think just briefly, Rick, as you said, we're getting here to the end of August, right? Beginning of September. And what that means for me, and I think for you, is we start traveling over here in America a lot. And that puts a lot of miles on our trailers. And just a quick reminder we wanted to say to everybody is now's the time to get your trailers maintained. I just arranged last week with Horse Trailer Pros to have them come pick up my trailers and go through their annual service and maintenance right now. I think that's really important, especially for people who are located here in Ocala area, because things start getting really busy for Horse Trailer Pros really soon. And if you want it done conveniently and at a good time, now's the time.
You know, John, thanks for telling me that, because I was going to drop my trailer off today and I forgot because my trailer isn't going to Great Meadows. So I am going to call our great friend Matt and see if he can arrange for my trailer to be picked up and have the services too. Because Perfect. You cannot go on the road without getting these trailers serviced, because let me tell you, you don't want to be on the side of the road with a blown tire. And those wheel bearings have to be changed every year. They need to be checked even during that year just to make sure everything's okay. So Matt Taub with Horse Trailer Pros does it for all of us. Get in there and get your horse trailers looked at.
Absolutely. So the other thing that I wanted to make sure we made some time for here, Rick, was the USEA just made a big commitment, and I don't even think I've told you this yet, but so the Cross Country Safety Committee made a proposal to the USEA that we needed to put more funding into safety, and a big part of that was going to be into frangibles. And so I talked to Rob Burke today, and he sent me this little quote out of one of their most recent updates, and it said, "Perhaps one of the most exciting motions to be approved during this week's meeting was one put forward by the Cross Country Safety Subcommittee. The USEA Board of Governors voted to approve the use of $100,000 to create the seed money for a new safety fund to be held by the USEA Foundation. These funds will be available to aid with all safety measures, including those related to frangible technology grants. The board also fully committed to the $26,000 annual fund for the frangible fence fund." So huge,
wow,
huge news out of the USEA.
That is really good. And when you said they came out of the meeting, USEA Board of Governors meet it face-to-face twice a year, one at the convention in December, and then this one in Virginia for their August board meeting. So congratulations to everybody for safety. That's a big, big win. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. I was really excited. I actually got to go on and meet with them and sort of present the idea to the board. So I appreciate them letting that happened and giving me the time. And kudos to them for making safety a top priority for eventing in America. So with that said, we just finished the Ocala horse trials, and that was a hot weekend. It was so ridiculously hot.
It was very hot, successful, but hot.
Yep. It was a great weekend. And I don't know if you knew, but one of the cool things, Rick, at the horse trials was, and it started out not cool, was at the end of the day yesterday, with 4 horses left to go, a storm blew in, lightning started coming. They had to hold the entire competition. And of those 4 horses, 2 of them were leading their divisions. So they were waiting and did everything they could do to try to get that competition to run. It was not looking good. I didn't think it was going to happen. I thought that, which I just learned this, if you have a division that's partly finished, and then weather cancels the event, it becomes a combined test. So even those horses that ran cross country, it doesn't count on the scoreboard, and you go back to the placings after show jumping. But Emily Holmes and her team got it done. They got those last 4 horses run safely and well. And, congratulations to the winners there. But big thing is congratulations and thank you to the Florida Horse Park and to Emily Holmes for figuring out a way to get that done for those competitors in the novice divisions, because it was a big deal to them.
Well done. Congratulations. That's tough. I know the weather was super bad here, and I didn't realize that was happening down at the horse park, because sometimes what happens where we are, John, isn't what's happening across Marion County, right?
Right.
So, and it was bad. So that's terrific that they got that done. You had great goes, right? I saw you on your new horse. Well, not so new anymore. Polo. What a freaking horse. I watched you go cross country through the last water, and I was like, gosh, they look fantastic.
Yeah, it was actually kind of fun, Rick. So I had him entered in the intermediate preliminary division because he's been a really good horse, but I've moved him up. He does well at the intermediate level. And then we've had a couple bobbles here and there. So I bumped him back down. And like we've talked about in the past, kind of playing with the levels. And I got to the horse show and I thought, you know what? I think he's ready for the intermediate. So I switched divisions, put him in the intermediate. And then, of course, I was a little bit like, oh, what have I done? I know this is the right course, but if I do something wrong here, I'm going to look like a real idiot. But he was amazing. He's really turning into the horse that I hoped he would be. So I'm excited about him. He had a great run. Weather was hot, so I didn't go super, super fast. But he finished fourth. And then I also had my Fernhill Copain horse and Kurt, as we like to, as we call him at home. And he was super as well. So yeah, it was a good weekend. It was a very good weekend. And you guys had a good one?
Yeah, we did. Briggs brought the pony mare tour out for one more run. Well, a run since Bromont. That was her first run. So we decided to put her in the IP. She did the prelim cross country, and then she ships off with his other 3-star horse to Great Meadows with Elisa that has 3 going, 2 in the 3-star, 1 in the 2-star. I rode my dingo, Ingomar. He was the first prelim back since I broke my hip on him last year. He's just so much fun now. And he was scoring 8s in his dressage. I think I scored a 30, was up in the top, and then I had an unusual 2 rails in the show jump, which is typically he's a clear show jump horse. And then cross country, I was having an amazing round, right? The last water. And I got to be careful about this. I start riding him like he's more educated than he is. And I dropped in, did the 7 to the in the water jump. And then I turned and didn't really focus him on the wedge coming out. And didn't get there quite in the 6. And he just did a little run by, popped back around, jumped it, and then finished up. But I'm really proud of him. He's going back to the 2-star at Stableview. I'm really excited.
Cool. I mean, yeah, I actually saw it. It was just a bit unlucky, I thought. And to be honest, I said to Callie when we walked that course that I thought that particular fence being at the end, it was right next to the stables. I thought it was going to be a tough one to get to and get the horses to focus on. So, fair enough. And if you came back around and popped it the second time, good on you.
Yep, he just zipped back around. I mean, he's great at wedges. It's just bad riding, or just not concentrated riding. I kind of got
overly confident.
Yep, overly confident. Correct. I need to keep a little warning sign up there. And
I'll try the next time I see you on a Minute event. I'll try to just say nasty things to you to get you a little bit upset and feeling bad about yourself, so that you don't go out too confident.
There you go.
Yeah, that's what friends
awesome.
are for.
Hey, so we got some news in that's kind of made social media fly and burn up. I've been biting my lip a bit. I think I only made one comment, and that's the Red Hills, a great event that was started by Sylvia Oakes and Sally Osley in 2009, or no, sorry, way before that, 1997.
Right.
And it's canceled. I mean, my phone blew up the first day. I'm from Tallahassee. A bunch of people started texting me and asking me what's going on. My inside scoop is that a lot of people don't understand, and you have some insight as well, is there's a process to get dates available. If you don't follow that bid process and you put in something that's not along the bid process for those dates, you're going to get rejected. and not to go all into it because we don't have enough time, they were rejected for their bid just because they put a bid in for a date that wasn't available. And so my thing is, and I'm going to say this on air and on spot, all our listeners, I really, really blame the board of the Red Hills Horse Trials. And I'm going to say it like that, all the way from Jane Barron down to all the board members. I think they're misinformed. I think they made wrong decisions, and they took a really great event that could have kept going and they let it stop.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I have to be a little careful about,
well, you can be, I don't have
about
to be.
things I say, but I will say this. The USEF was tasked with trying to create a fair way to create a calendar that made sense for the competitors, that also offered some protection for the events that they were able to get enough entries. The problem with that in Area 3 in the spring in particular is that there are not enough weekends for all of the competitions that want to run all of the dates that they want to run. I think losing Red Hills is a huge loss. I think it's unfortunate that the USEF wasn't able to figure out a way to keep Red Hills happy. That said, I think it might have been an impossible task for the USEF to do. They were told to create a calendar that made sense, and I think that they did it. I think the calendar does make sense. I do worry that we maybe might have some limited options for the competitors next year, but we're going to cross that bridge as we get to it. I know that the USEF has plans in place to be able to look at the calendar and evaluate the calendar going forward, and to add or take away competition dates that are needed, really add competition dates that are needed. And it's unfortunate that I guess the one thing I can say is it is unfortunate that politics come into it, and maybe not even politics, but that misinformation comes out and that people immediately start pointing fingers without having all of the information. I think it's not always fair to the USEF when that happens, because there's some things that they can and can't say, including myself. But what I know is this, and this is something that I can say, and I would shout it from the mountaintops: the USEF is staffed by incredible people. And on the eventing side, they are people who care about the sport. They're passionate about the sport. And the USEF Sport Committee is filled with people just like everybody listening to this show. People who live, breathe, sweat, bleed, cry eventing. And all they're trying to do, myself included, is do the right thing. But there's always a lot of balls up in the air and things to balance. And I think the USEF eventing committee does a great job with trying to get that all done. Certainly don't get it perfect all of the time, but I think just, everybody's entitled to their opinion. Everybody's entitled to vent on social media. But I do think, and I try to learn this myself in other areas of life, that when I hear one side of a story, I always try to think about what could the other side of the story be, even if maybe I can't hear the whole side.
No, and I hear that, and I appreciate your insight and appreciate your ability to speak a little bit to it. I, on the other hand, can say what I know, and I've been with that event and been involved with the event since 1999, 2 years in. I think that the decisions made were selfish, and because they didn't get some 4-star, I think there's workarounds they could have done the advance. There's other things that they could have done at Red Hills. I'm going to say this right now, to get more involvement with Tallahassee. If they would have just implemented a 1-star, I know it's going to cost a little money to put another course in there. They could have done a lot of things to get Tallahasseans more involved. I think they've lost their opportunity. I don't ever think it's ever too late. I think, Red Hills Horse Trials is a nonprofit organization, has quite the ability to revamp itself, get new leadership, and make a change. So I call that to all those listening, and to those that are mad that I'm saying something not anything other than truthful from my heart. I'm from Tallahassee. I knew the women that organized and started that whole event. I know everybody in Tallahassee basically, and I think they're making a huge mistake by not being flexible, even though they didn't have the date that they wanted for the 4-star. That's how I'm going to end it.
Right. Well, I think that's all fair. And I will just finish it with this. I've had some of my greatest moments at Red Hills. I've certainly had my worst moment as a competitor at Red Hills. It is a place that when I drive into it, fills me with all kinds of emotions, good and bad. But I love Red Hills. I appreciate everybody who's done everything they can do to try to keep that event going. And to be honest, I appreciate Jane Barron for all that she did for all the years that she's done it to keep that event going. I hope that we can figure out a way, or they can figure out a way to get that event to keep going, because it is a huge loss for the sport of eventing that it isn't going to happen anymore. But what I know is this: I will look back on all of the years that I rode at Red Hills fondly. Even that day in 2008, that wasn't a good day. It has some silver lining to it, and that it got me more involved in governance of the sport and trying to be proactive and improve things. So I love Red Hills. I love the people of Tallahassee, and we'll miss it. We'll miss it. So
yep.
With that said, Rick, we have an awesome show. We have Laura Collett coming up next, and I am so excited to get to interview her. So let's take a break, and let's move on to Laura Collett and Team Great Britain and the World Championships.
Bam, and Great Meadows will bring you the results after it happens.
Awesome. We'll be right back. Want to advertise on the John and Rick Show? Contact John at 352-875-8622
or call Rick at 850-879-2649.
For a horse owner on the road, your trailer is essential. No one enjoys being stuck on the road. At Horse Trailer Pros, we repair, renovate, and maintain all makes and models of horse trailers. We work directly with your insurance company or manufacturer for warranty repairs and insurance claims. Our state-of-the-art facility provides quick turnaround and friendly customer service. Considering a living quarter conversion? We do those too. Find comfort on the road with Horse Trailer Pros. Call or text 352-804-2131. HorseTrailerPros.com.
I'm Gabby Ruane, and I run Ruane Eventing. I run my program out of Reddick, Florida. I start off in the morning bringing the horses in, feeding, and then tacking up and riding pretty much all day. It's always a busy day here with multiple horses in training. When Mufasa first arrived, he was quite sensitive and reactive as a young horse. I decided to start him on Stress Less. I've tried quite a few other supplements and I felt like they all dulled him. Stress Less was the first supplement that really let me get through his tough moments, but I felt like he could still keep that spark that made him special. Stress Less helps keep Mufasa calm but responsive even through his tough moments. When Mufasa first arrived, he was quite reactive and sensitive, and I needed something to help me get him through those tough moments. Mufasa began his career as an event horse last year, and this year I hope to move him up to the preliminary level and then end the year with a 2-star long. I'm Gabby Ruane, and I would recommend Stress Less to anyone who wants their horse more focused and rideable overall.
Welcome back to the John and Rick Show, brought to you by Horse Trailer Pros, and we are so excited to be joined by Laura Collett. Laura, thank you so much for coming on.
No worries. Nice to be here.
So,
Hey, John,
you really need.
Can I
Sorry?
say, this is our Stress Less segment?
This is our Stress Less segment. Thank you, Rick. Yes.
Yeah.
Huge thank you to Stress Less. Great product. Helps your horses focus. Great for daily training at home. Keep them relaxed and focused without making them dull. I use it all the time. So it's a great product, and thank you to Stress Less. So Laura, obviously everybody knows you. They know London 52. What an amazing horse. Sort of the first thing that I really remember about you and that horse was obviously the 2020 Olympics, where you won the team gold medal with him, correct?
Yep, that was a pretty special week.
Yep, pretty cool. And I believe that there's a little bit of continuity here, because you were on that team with Ollie and Tom, right?
Yeah.
And now we've got the team heading to the World Championships. And I believe I have this right. I've done a little bit of research. So it's the team for the UK for the 20 2022 World Championships is you, Laura Collett, Ollie Townend, Tom McEwen, Ross Cantor, and Yasmin Ingham. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, look at me. I got it all. I know what's going on.
Wow.
When did they announce that?
Last Friday.
Boom. Awesome. And so, I know you've been there before. I'm sure you went into this kind of like, that's the plan, that's the goal, and almost, whether you want to admit it or not, expecting it. But what was it like when you got the call and were told that, yes, you're going?
Relieved. Obviously, yeah, it's always been the aim and the plan. But with horses, we always know that anything can be around the corner. He obviously came out beginning of this year in fantastic form off the back of Tokyo, and yeah, obviously since badminton, it hasn't really done very much. So it's been a bit of a long wait, waiting to see what everyone else does and wait for selection. But yeah, it's really nice to actually just hear that we're on the squad, and now start focusing on trying to get him in tip-top shape and for a few weeks' time.
So was that a similar timeline to when they named the Tokyo team? Did they name it same time frame ahead of time?
I think Tokyo was probably a bit closer. They had quite a few delays in naming the squad for Tokyo, because I think basically they had too many options. So the team last year was very, very strong and very difficult to, obviously it was only 3 as well, which makes a big difference.
We lost a little bit of internet, Laura. Hopefully we'll get you back in a second. There you go.
Yeah, so the team last year was very difficult, and I think they kept delaying actually naming it. So it felt very last minute last year. This year, well, I guess 3 weeks is a long time, but also not that long, depending on how you look at it.
Right. Yeah. No. And so, I mean, yes, we're not that far off of it, but so what do you do now, I guess is the question, between now and being there to make sure that he's in top shape, that you're not sort of what we would call bubble wrapping the horse, and just trying to keep him in one piece, but make sure you keep training him and that he's fit enough and ready to go?
Yeah, definitely. Like, as much as I'd love to just wrap him in cotton wool and look after him, this doesn't really get us anywhere. So just trying to keep everything exactly the same. He's got one more, just a very quiet open intermediate run next Monday. Few training sessions in between, and a few more gallops. So yeah, there's trying to fit everything into a week is quite difficult when they get to this level. So yeah, it'll fly by hopefully, and yeah, main thing is to keep him in one piece now. Great. Rick?
Yeah, definitely. Hey, Laura, this is such a cool horse. I love watching y'all go. I've been following you for a bit. Tell me the history. How did you end up with London 52? And for some reason, I always want to call him London 54. I don't know why, but London 52, he is just amazing. And obviously you are too. So how did y'all end up becoming partners?
Yeah, I mean, he is a phenomenal horse, and I'm just the lucky one that gets to steer him. But I went out a few years ago, I can't remember when, but when he was 7, I actually went out to Germany, to Peter Thompson's yard, to look for some cheap project horses for myself to buy. I was buying young ones to produce and bring on, and he happened to be trotting around the school, completely out of the budget that I had to buy a young horse, and he caught my eye, and I said, "What's that? I want that one." He was like, "No, you can't afford him." So I said, "I need to try him, and I'll ring some people." So luckily I had 2 very loyal owners in Keith Scott and Karen Bartlett, who'd owned horses with me for a few years, who I basically begged to join me on the journey of buying what I believed was my next superstar. And luckily he's proved I was right.
Definitely a good eye, and what a story. So they helped you out, great owners, you got him home. How quickly, once you got him home, so you got him as a 7-year-old, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it must not have taken very long for you to start winning. So were you out on track and starting to really hit it big? I mean, was he winning right from the beginning?
I wouldn't say he was winning right from the beginning. He took to it very quickly and very well. He couldn't really do dressage, believe it or not, when that's probably his strongest phase now. But yeah, he obviously went in a bit of a show jumper type way. Had to teach him to trot, and but his jumping, he kind of knew that, and he took to cross country really well. So he went up the levels quite quickly, but he would have had a lot of top tens, but never really won anything until I think he stepped up to intermediate the following year, and that's when he started to kind of look like he could start being pretty competitive. But he went up the levels very quickly. He obviously stepped up to 4-star within 2 years as a 9-year-old. So it's had a pretty steep learning curve, and then sort of had a couple of rocky moments as a 10-year-old, but then clawed it back and came good.
That's awesome. And when you say rocky moments, John, myself, my daughter's Elisa Wallace, and those rocky moments with London. What's his bar name? London?
Dan?
Dan, yeah. Oh, that's cool. Speak through the people listening and watching, because everybody has those rocky moments, right? And you start to question a lot of things in those moments. What do I do? Do I step him back down, or her, the mare? How do you work through, even with your other horses, when you hit a plateau and you think, oh gosh, I don't know what to do, or this is what I need to do to back up, make the corrections in the foundation and keep going? So what do you do with Dan when that happened, with those rocky moments? Did you have to step back for a second?
It was just it was bad timing, I guess, with the fact that I lost my top horse through injury, Mr. Bass. So suddenly all the pressure was on Dan, and he kind of it just a few things went wrong, and I definitely took a step back and just basically took all the pressure off. He'd won the Blenheim 9-year-old championships as a 9-year-old in only his second year eventing, and so he came into the following year as one to watch. And every time he went out, it felt like everyone had really high expectations, and I think I just took a step back and actually just said, he needs to go back to basics. He actually just went cross country schooling, trotted and basically treated him like he was a 4-year-old and let him enjoy life again. And then he came out at Buccalo at the end of the year and was a different horse, and actually he won there. And in the prize giving, I strongly believe that was a real turning point for him mentally. He suddenly believed in himself, and he knew he's the kind of horse he knows when things have gone right and when he's done well, and he really enjoyed that moment. And I would say from Buccalo in 2019, he, touch wood, hasn't looked back, and has been fantastic.
That's a great story, and good to hear that there are ways through it, taking the pressure off, even for you, right? It's not just the horse, but you. So good on you, and congratulations on such a great go since Buccalo.
Thank you.
So let's do this, guys. Let's take a break, and then we're going to come back, and we want to keep going with Laura for the next segment. So thank you again to Stress Less for sponsoring this segment. Awesome product. You guys need to go and check it out. I think it's, what is it, Rick? hothorsesupplement.com. Is that right?
You got it right.
Boom. Look at me go. Awesome.
Or hothorsesupplement.net, but I think you're right.
All right. Well, check it out on the John and Rick Show Facebook page, and we'll have it up there. So thank you again to Stress Less. Laura, hang tight. We will be right back. We're just going to check in with Stress Less and a couple other of our sponsors.
I'm Gabby Ruane, and I run Ruane Eventing. I run my program out of Reddick, Florida. I start off in the morning bringing the horses in, feeding, and then tacking up and riding pretty much all day. It's always a busy day here with multiple horses in training. When Mufasa first arrived, he was quite sensitive and reactive as a young horse. I decided to start him on Stress Less. I've tried quite a few other supplements, and I felt like they all dulled him. Stress Less was the first supplement that really let me get through his tough moments, but I felt like he could still keep that spark that made him special. Stress Less helps keep Mufasa calm but responsive even through his tough moments. When Mufasa first arrived, he was quite reactive and sensitive, and I needed something to help me get him through those tough moments. Mufasa began his career as an event horse last year, and this year I hope to move him up to the preliminary level and then end the year with a 2-star long. I'm Gabby Ruane, and I would recommend Stress Less to anyone who wants to.
Hi, my name's Leslie Law, and we are a proud supporter of Jump for Joy. We've been using their portable cross-country jumps now for about 10 to 15 years. We love these jumps because, as you can see, they're very easy to move. It would only take another person on the other side, and I could place this fence wherever I wanted to very easily.
Rick Wallace here, bringing you Equibrew, a live probiotic that is geared to help your horse's gut health. I'm a true believer in this Equibrew, and it really makes a difference in all of my horses. Equibrew is safe, non-toxic, and clean sport compliant for FEI and racing events. Equibrew is an intact fermentation product with very high numbers of beneficial microbes. Order at equibrew.com or 850-879-2649. Welcome back to the John and Rick Show, brought to you by Horse Trailer Pros. We are joined with Laura Collett in her second segment with us. Such a cool story about London 52 and her successes with him. Laura, we appreciate you being on, and I know it's exciting getting ready for Italy. John, you had some questions for her.
Yeah, well, I just thought it's a, we were talking about London 52 and needing when you went back and sort of got him feeling like $1 million bucks. But you had an even bigger thing that you had to come back from, which was in 2013, you had a massive fall. It was scary for you. Well, actually, maybe not that scary for you because you were out, but it was scary for everybody in the eventing world. I can just get this off your Wikipedia page. I don't think I'm giving out any medical information. You had to be resuscitated 5 times. You had a tracheotomy, fractured shoulder, broken ribs, punctured lung, lacerated liver, and damage to your kidneys. A fragment of your shoulder bone went into your eye. Like, did I miss anything? Because that seems like a lot of stuff.
Sounds plenty, doesn't it?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, I'm sure you wake up in the hospital and it's a little bit of a blur, but what I really want to know is what was it like coming back to compete and be Laura Collett again after something like that happens?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say the sort of most positive thing was that I didn't remember anything from that day. My mind seemed to have completely blanked it out. So when I came round in hospital, I was oblivious to what had actually happened and couldn't really understand why everyone was around me looking quite so terrified. They kind of obviously filled me in and told me, and I was like, grand, okay, well, oh well. And it was always basically the first thing I wanted to do was get back on a horse, and everyone was questioning whether I would, because obviously it was a pretty bad accident, but for me it was almost like it hadn't actually happened to me because I didn't remember anything. And by the time I came around in hospital, I was on so many drugs, I didn't really have any pain or anything. So as far as I was concerned, I just wanted to go home and ride my horses, but did have a few injuries that didn't really allow me to do much more than get on and walk around for a couple of days. But yeah, very fortunate. I went to Oaksey House to the Injured Jockeys Fund rehab centre, and they did an amazing job to get me back to full strength super quick. I was back competing 6 weeks and 6 days after my accident, and yeah, I look back now and probably that was a bit stupid of me to do it quite so quickly, but I guess from a mental point of view, I felt like I needed to just do it to kind of shut everyone up and prove that I was still exactly the same person as I was before, if anything, just more determined to put things right and carry on and show the world what I wanted to do, which was to try and be one of the top eventers and continue where I left off, really.
So what was it like that day when you were getting ready to get on your horse and go out for cross country? Was it just another day for you and you didn't care? Or were you nervous? Were you nervous just about proving people wrong or what?
No, I was just excited to be able to to go. I just took one horse. Yogi Bryson had told me I was only allowed to ride the one on the first day back, and if I was okay doing that, I could go back the next day and ride the others. I rode a horse called Noble Best Man, who was safe as houses and knew his job inside out. And yeah, I was just really excited about being able to go back. It seemed like the longest 6 weeks, 6 days of my life waiting for that moment. So everyone around me was pretty nervous, and I was pretty oblivious to it all, really. I guess when I came back and saw all their very relieved faces, that kind of hit home a bit, that actually they're the ones that had suffered, not me, because for me it wasn't, it was just part of what had happened, and carry on and nothing to worry about. Whereas for them it was a pretty traumatic time, to see me in hospital in a coma and not know how I was going to be when I woke up. So I guess it's my friends and family that suffered more than me, to be honest.
Right. Well, I appreciate you talking about it, because I think, whether people have a crashing fall or just, tumble off, it does get in some people's heads. And it's good to hear how, the top athletes and competitors deal with stuff like that. So moving on to something that I've kind of been looking at as I've been doing this interview, that's maybe a little bit more fun. Behind you, you have a painting of 3 horses. They've all got medals around their neck. So before I turn this back over to Rick, who are the horses? What do we got back there?
So those my 3 ponies, juniors and young rider horses. I've got Noble Springbok, who was my pony, that won team gold and individual bronze. And then Fernhill Sox, who was my first junior horse. And
is that the one in the middle, Fernhill Sox?
Yeah, the one in the middle. And he won individual gold and team silver at the juniors. And then Rhea, who did juniors and young riders and won double gold at both. So my 3 very, very special horses, well, pony and horses.
Right. The ones who got it all started for you.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Rick, you're muted.
That is a cool painting. I love it. I was noticing it too. So thanks, John, for saying something. Who did you commission to do that?
So a friend of mine called Eugenia Chapman Campbell. She's, as you can see, very, very talented. I sent her 3 headshot photos and she created a masterpiece.
She sure did. That's amazing. It's a really, really great painting. So that's pretty cool to have. So you mentioned your young rider days. When did you, just give a little history of Laura, when did you get on your first horse? When did you start competing?
Well, I think I was plonked on a pony when I was about 2 years old. Started doing showing till I was 12, when I decided I wanted to do something a bit more exciting. So I bought a 14-2 5-year-old pony, Noble Springbok, who we kind of learnt together. We joined the pony club, did pony club show jumping and eventing, and got bitten by the bug, as they say, with the eventing. And yeah, went from there, really. So he's the one that I owe it all to, really, because he started my career off. When I sold him, he kind of set me up for life. I bought Rhea with the money that, some of the money that I'd sold Noble Springbok for, and he took me to my first badminton. So
wow,
it's a pretty good story.
That is a great story. That is super. And so that was a very special horse to you, obviously. And it's always hard when those ties have to be cut, even though, there's a lot of money at stake, and to move on for your career. Did he go to a great place? I'm sure he did. How sad were you when that happened?
Yeah, I was pretty inconsolable, to be honest. He was a phenomenal pony, and I still to this day believe he probably would have jumped around badminton himself. He was incredible. But yeah, Yogi did tell me at the time that I had to be sensible, because he would set me up for my career, and that's exactly what he did. He went to a fantastic family after I had him, and continued to win. I think at every championships he went to with 2 other riders, he always came home with a team and individual medal. And then actually the family who bought him after the Solis, they then built a yard and wanted somebody to go in and help teach their daughter. So I then moved into that yard for probably about 4 years. So yeah, it was an incredible time of everything with him, from having him from the start, teaching me eventing, to setting me up, to providing me with a really smart yard and everything that went with it.
I think there's a book in the future.
Just on Noble Springbok, probably.
I mean, that's a cool story. So thanks for sharing that with us.
Laura, so you're named to the team. Just quick transitioning back here for the end of this. You're named to the team. Have they mentioned, or do you have any idea like what the team strategy is going to be? Do you have an idea of when you think you're going to be in the order for second, third, fourth? Like, do you guys know any of that, or is that going to be decided once you're there at the venue?
Yeah, I think that's going to be decided when we get there. We're at the moment, we're a squad of 5. They've not done team and individuals yet, or running order or anything like that. So very much, I think, wait and see how the horses travel out, what the course looks like, and decide when we're out there. But I'm pretty sure the strategy is that we want to come back with as many medals as we can.
That's a good strategy. You guys seem to do pretty well at that. I mean, I would be lying if I said I hope you don't win silver, but I think you're going to do a pretty good job over there.
Fingers crossed.
So with that said, obviously London 52 is pretty flash on the flat. Do you, I know you don't want to like start putting things out there and then wonder, but if you had your ideal situation, you could set up and say, the coach came to you and said, Laura, where do you want to go? What's your ideal spot?
To be honest, I don't really have one. Just super grateful to be there at all. Probably anywhere other than first. I feel like first to go is a lot of pressure. And yeah, to be honest, anywhere, whatever position I'm given, hopefully if not as an individual, then try and win an individual medal. But yeah, I think just at the moment the focus is just on getting him there in one piece in good form, really. Well,
spoken like a champ there for sure. Just happy to be there and do your part. So good luck to you. Good luck to all of Team Great Britain for sure. We'll be cheering you guys on for that second place finish right behind good old USA. But we'll be cheering you on. So sincerely, really appreciate it. Best of luck. I hope you win the whole darn thing. Yeah, we'll be cheering you on for sure.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you, Laura.
We are going to be right back, guys. We have the one and only Amelia Winter coming on to follow up Laura Collett. That's a pretty big act to follow, but we're sure Amelia is up to the task. So we're going to check in with our sponsors and we will be right back.
For a horse owner on the road, your trailer is essential. No one enjoys being stuck on the road. At Horse Trailer Pros, we repair, renovate, and maintain all makes and models of horse trailers. We work directly with your insurance company or manufacturer for warranty repairs and insurance claims. Our state-of-the-art facility provides quick turnaround and friendly customer service. Considering a living quarter conversion? We do those too. Find comfort on the road with Horse Trailer Pros. Call or text 352-804-2131. HorseTrailerPros.com.
I'm Gabby Ruane, and I run Ruane Eventing. I run my program out of Reddick, Florida. I start off in the morning bringing the horses in, feeding, and then tacking up and riding pretty much all day. It's always a busy day here with multiple horses in training. When Mufasa first arrived, he was quite sensitive and reactive as a young horse. I decided to start him on Stress Less. I've tried quite a few other supplements and I felt like they all dulled him. Stress Less was the first supplement that really let me get through his tough moments, but I felt like he could still keep that spark that made him special. Stress Less helps keep Mufasa calm but responsive even through his tough moments. When Mufasa first arrived, he was quite reactive and sensitive, and I needed something to help me get him through those tough moments. Mufasa began his career as an event horse last year, and this year I hope to move him up to the preliminary level and then end the year with a 2-star long. I'm Gabby Ruane, and I would recommend Stress Less to anyone who wants their horse more focused and rideable overall.
Rick Wallace here, bringing you Equibrew, a live probiotic that is geared to help your horse's gut health. I'm a true believer in this Equibrew, and it really makes a difference in all of my horses. Equibrew is safe, non-toxic, and clean sport compliant for FEI and racing events. Equibrew is an intact fermentation product with very high numbers of beneficial microbes. Order at equibrew.com or 850-879-2649.
Welcome back to the John and Rick Show, brought to you by Horse Trailer Pros, and we are very excited now to be joined by Amelia Winter. Amelia, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
So we were talking a little bit before we got on here, and you've just returned home this morning from Holland, yeah?
Yeah, I've been to Holland yesterday, so Sunday. For the day, we left at 3:30 in the morning and got a 6 a.m. flight to Holland. And then we were there all day trying horses. And then we got home, stayed the night in Amsterdam, got home this morning at 10:30.
Perfect.
Wow.
That's a big trip. And we appreciate you taking the time to hop on with us at the end of what sounds like a pretty long trip, or a long day, not a long trip, but a long day.
Yeah.
So just to bring everybody up to speed, for those who maybe don't know Amelia, I think you probably all do know Amelia's parents, Mike and Emma Winter. We've had Mike on recently, and he actually was just named to the Canadian WEG team, which is really exciting. And Amelia, you must be pretty proud of your dad.
Yeah, it's exciting. I'm excited to go to Italy. I've only been once before, but I'm really excited. Bit of a different experience this time, not going for a holiday.
Right,
as much as I'd like to think so.
Yeah, no, I'm sure you'll be working hard if I know your dad. But before we even get into that side of things, I do think, we have you on the show because of you, not because you're your parents' kid, although maybe a little bit. So the cool thing is, so how old are you, Amelia?
I turned 21 in May.
All right. So 21 in May, she is freshly legal to drink in America, but it doesn't matter because you're over there. But you've actually had a pretty good start to your career over there, right? So you've been listed to the junior and young rider team development squads a couple of times, I believe.
Yeah.
In 2018, 19, young riders in 21 and 22. You also jumped double clear in the time at the National British Championships in 2021. And that's actually where you were also selected to be put on the development squad. And then you were saying now you're sort of rebuilding that string. You got that going, and now you're starting to try to bring along some young horses to restart it. Yes?
Yeah. So my 3-star horse, I think I got him in 2017, the end of 2017. And then in 2018, maybe it was end of 2016. I think it was end of 2016 or 27. And then the first season I did so like B100, which is training level, up to old 1-star. So did a CCI 1-star at the end of my first season with him, and then I slowly just ticked along doing some 1-stars. I was lucky enough to go to Portugal eventing with the Japanese team. And I did that the second season I had him, and did they call it like the Sunshine Tour of eventing down there. Did a couple more 1-stars, and then that season I did a lot of FEI 1-stars, just trying to get my FEI sort of going. I did like the area championships in the UK that year on my area's team, and then I just finished the year with doing the junior development squad trip to Mill Street. They normally take I think they took 6 juniors to Mill Street that year in a development squad, just to see how they compete abroad and under pressure and all of that, hoping that group of kids will go to the Europeans next year. And then I sort of after that went intermediate for a few years whilst I worked for an Australian rider called Sammy Birch, and I worked for her, and I really got going intermediate with her help and guidance a lot, and did some 3-stars and stuff. And now that horse is he's living a quieter life. He's just hacking and doing some low-level show jumping with a girl in the next door town, and I'm just doing baby horses now, which I love.
So one of the things I just wanted to know, and then I'll turn it over to Rick for some questions, was you're over there, you're a younger rider. That's a very different world to what younger riders over here would be experiencing and exposure to different people. So you seem like, I mean, I've known you forever, from the very beginning. And I want to get into that because it's interesting that you actually were born in America. You have a Canadian dad, a British mom, and now you live in England. But you must have some sort of a strategy or a plan, right? Because you were saying to me, like, now you're kind of freelancing, you're riding for different people. So what just is a day in your life like when you're not coming right back from Amsterdam for looking for horses? Like what is it exactly that you do on a daily basis to get through your day?
So on a daily basis, my alarm goes off at 5:45 and I get up and go to work. So in the morning, I work from 7 till 12. And that can be at any barn that I'm working at that day. So I help mum and dad out a little bit, but not very much. Mainly, I help out some event riders that live literally 10 minutes from my house. It's Catherine Robinson, who is a Canadian rider. She's actually been, she went to Rio, and then Giovanni Ugolotti, who's an Italian rider, who's also ridden on lots of teams. And they...
Uh-oh.
Can you hear me?
We got you back. We lost you for a second. You're back. Okay. Keep going.
And they, I do a bit of work for them, a bit of just normal like barn chores, and then some riding, which I really like. And so I do that on a freelance basis. And then also,
so that's just to interrupt. So like barn chores, so you still muck stalls and clean buckets and that stuff as
well? Yeah, I still muck out. I muck out, I bring in, I turn out, I feed, hay, make hay nets, all of that. And once the barn's all done, then I ride the horses that I have to ride. You know, I can ride 3 or 4 there in the time that I'm there, after I've done sort of help the girls get the barn done. And they help as well. Like Catherine and Giovanni will muck out and do all that, you know, if they haven't got their kid and stuff. So yeah, it's like a massive team effort, and that's most places I work. It's like that. So, you know, when I go to Laura's, she's tacking and untacking for herself all morning whilst we muck out, and then we ride. But yeah, it's all, everyone's, you know, very self-sufficient, all of that. So I do that in the morning, and then I go after that to do my own horses. So I go and ride them. At the moment, I've just got 2, hoping to buy another one. And at one point I did have 4 to do in the middle of the day between 12 and 3, which was a bit much.
Yeah.
But I like it, and I like being busy. I don't like to be twiddling my thumbs. So yeah, I do that in the middle of the day from about 12 to 3. And then at 3, I go and ride some horses for a lady that lives about 30 minutes from the barn, or I go and help a friend of mine who has like 8 horses at home, and to help her do her barn. So yeah, I just do a little bit of everything. I also used to ride race horses a bit in the mornings, but that comes and goes with the seasons. And yeah, so that's me. And I ride mine, do other people's horses, walk my dog like a normal person.
Rick, what do you got?
Yeah, hey Amelia, you know, you don't remember me, but I know you. Obviously, to John's point, you were born in the United States. I think, were you born in Georgia?
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
She's a Southern belle.
Yeah,
I'm a Southern belle.
When you were little, when did you leave the States? What year? How old were you?
2009. So I was 8.
So you were 8 years old and hanging out at, most of this time we were hanging out Poplar. Remember Poplar?
Yeah.
And I'd see you running around and playing and doing all kinds of stuff while your mom and dad did their things at the horse shows. And I really remember you. And my question is going to be, do you remember much being in the States when you were at Poplar? There was really rain downpour. I think it was one of the last events that y'all were at before you left. And everything flooded in the tents that we were in. And you were just out in the water playing around. I just remember seeing Amelia getting muddy. I was like, that girl's getting muddy. So do you remember much about the States?
Yeah, I remember like a lot of like random things. I definitely miss the Mexican food. That's probably the main
So does your dad.
Yeah, I miss the Mexican. Weirdly, I miss the Mexican food and Cold Stone Creamery the most.
There you go.
That's not that weird.
But yeah, like I do remember the events, and like if I see pictures online of like Poplar and stuff, I will recognize them.
Sure.
Because we've been back a few times before, like since and things, and I don't know what horse show we went to. I went to with John, but we went to a horse show with them.
Oh, that's right. Well, let's quickly say that because then we got to take a break. That's when I had you come over and I put you on a horse and you got bucked off in the warm up.
Oh my God, I did.
Your dad was so mad at me.
I did. Oh my goodness, I forgot about that.
So did I. It just came to me. It was great. I'm like, oh yeah, no, Amelia, hop on, you'll be good. And then boom, it bucked you right off. And your dad was like, thanks a lot for putting her on a nice one, John.
Hey, Uncle John, let's take a break and we can talk more about it.
Yeah, we'll take a quick break, and Amelia, we will be right back.
Awesome.
Jump for Joy fences are easy to move, lightweight, durable, and low maintenance. So we're out here on the cross country. We just finished over in the show jumping over the Jump for Joy fences. Had a great time schooling over them. They're really nice and easy to move, so we were able to adjust some things and really have the exact school that we needed thanks to the Jump for Joy fences. I love them.
Order yours at jumpforjoyusa.com.
When it comes time to compete, I demand the best out of my horses and myself. That's why Elemental Fit Lab, the home of CrossFit antics, is my home gym. Coach Vilma and her team create a fun, welcoming environment for athletes of all levels. Whether you're a beginner or a seasoned athlete, Elemental Fit Lab will guide you towards a stronger, healthier version of you. Mention the John and Rick Show to get 3 free personal training sessions with enrollment.
Welcome back to the John and Rick Show. We're in our 5th segment, and we are still joined with Amelia Winter. She's over in England. Amelia's been telling her stories about the young horses that she's working with. And let me tell you, Amelia, I'm certainly impressed because you have work ethic, which I know your mother and father do too. But, you know, we don't see that a lot in some of the kids here. You're not a kid anymore. You're about 21. But was that instilled at a young age from your parents, just hanging out and seeing them working all the time, or how did that come about?
Yeah, like I think, yeah, it was always like, well, if you really want it, you have to go and get it yourself. Like no one's going to bring it to you. So, yeah, it was. And like when I was 13, I had a job at the local tack shop and I used to go every day. I used to walk there from school every day and work for an hour after school. And then after that, I would go and ride my horse, my pony then. And so, yeah, like it's always been a thing that, you know, you have to sort of go and get it if you really want it that bad. And that comes with, you know, working hard and early mornings, later evenings. And yeah, and also I think it's kind of instilled in me, like in my genetics, I can't sit still. I get very like, okay, I need to do something now. So yeah, it's a little bit instilled in me as well, genetically, and you know, I've grown up that way.
That answers the question, right? So you did mention, I know, John, y'all were talking about the horse show when she came over to the States and she got bucked off. Did y'all want to talk more? That was interesting.
I mean, I thought it was great. So yeah, Amelia came over and you hung out with us for a few days while your parents were here.
Yeah.
And I'm sure those were some of the greatest memories of your life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, it was good. I love coming over and seeing everyone. It's really nice.
So I guess my question about that really would be like, obviously you came over and we make fun because I put you on a horse that bucked you off, but I know you remember a little bit from when you were younger, but that would have been one of the few times or one of the most recent times that you've been over here for an event. Yes.
Yeah.
And so if you think about an event in the UK and an event, well, that event that you were here in Florida, what were the big differences, if any?
I think like mainly the whole thing that you guys don't do everything on one day. So yeah, that's weird to me. Like even FEI classes that are shorts are all normally ran over one day, maybe 2 days. And that on the whole, you guys show jump on the last day, even at national classes, which I think is good in a lot of ways because, from a young age, the horses, you learn what the horses are like after they run cross country, and they learn how to cope after the cross country as well. I think definitely like the involvement of the coaches and trainers is a lot heavier than over here. Like I would have never, I don't think ever had anyone warming me up for any phase. I wouldn't really know what to do if someone was warming me up for a phase. I think I would be a bit like, what's going on? But yeah, you kind of like everyone's different. Like everyone has to be comfortable with their thing. So I think that was a massive difference as well. And probably the sizes of the divisions, like obviously there's not as many people eventing in divisions over there. Whereas over here, you go to what would be a training level over there, and there's 50 people in the class, and there's 4 different divisions for the same level. So yeah, it's like, some events you go to over here and there's like thousands of numbers and combinations and people. So it just, lots of different things, a lot of same things, you get a lot of amateurs and professionals on young horses and sales horses and things. So yeah.
That's cool. Interesting, John, because what year was that with the shoes over here last?
Oh, it was a few years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, probably. 2017.
I think we are learning a bit, and we have been going to the short format where the show jumping goes second and then the cross country. But to your point, Amelia, I think there's been a lot of discussion about what's called fifth wheel training, which is somebody at every phase helping the students. And I think, in some cases it might be good. And to your point, you're like, wow, what's going on? Because I think when you get to a competition, you're probably thinking, well, I should be ready to go, right? In the United States, I think we're a little bit different. We like to coach it all the way down to entering the ring, and sometimes after you come out.
I think there's a balance. Sometimes you watch people warm up over here, and I might be one of those people, and you think, oh, you could do with a bit of help, but it's what people are comfortable with. Everyone's different. Everyone knows their horse very well. Like I have had horses that I've thought, I'm here on my own. I don't have a fence setter, and probably this one needs, something a bit bigger, a bit smaller, but I've just had to jump what other people are setting there and just figure it out. And I think, a lot of people over here are like, well, if you're at a show, you shouldn't have to have your hand held. But then also I think it's some horses need a certain system when they warm up and things, and maybe need the person on the ground, even to give them like a mint or something to help them relax, or, for show jumping, maybe something a bit bigger or smaller. So it's just different. And just because I'm not used to it doesn't mean it's, and it's not very normal over here, doesn't mean it's not right. But yeah, no. That's just what I noticed.
You're so much more agreeable when I'm interviewing you. You would have had a strong opinion about this if we were at the Indian restaurant.
No, I think over, also over at the Indian restaurant. Yeah, I think also I don't know, it's hard. I think people get very fixed on one thing, and they're like, well, this is the way I would have it, and it's like my way or the highway. But actually, I think over the years you start to realize that everyone's different, everyone copes with things differently, everyone's horses are different, and everyone has to have their own thing. And if it works them and they do well, then obviously it's fine. If they're not doing well, then maybe they need to change something. But
right. So not to jump on top of you, Rick, but I want to make sure we get to this. Amelia, you grew up with parents who were very into eventing. Your mom is an accomplished 5-star competitor. Your dad is an accomplished 5-star team rider for Canada. What was it like growing up with that? Was there pressure? Of course I'm going to ride. Is it something you wanted to do? Is it something they encouraged? And with that, do you feel like there's pressure to perform knowing that who your parents are? You have a lot on you that way.
I think to be honest, I get asked this question a lot. Like, I always had the option not to ride, and actually it was encouraged not to ride. My parents tried everything. They sent me to drama camp. They sent me, you know, they encouraged me to do hockey, to play netball, which is a sport over here. They encouraged me to do everything along with riding. And, you know, they also encouraged riding, but they were always said, like, you know, if you don't want to ride and you only ride because we do, like, you don't have to feel like you have to do it, all this stuff. But I've literally always been horse obsessed. I think I really struggle if I don't ride, even for one day. I get really like, I think I get a bit down. I'm a bit like, oh, I feel a bit lost. Or I'm not around a horse, I feel a bit lost. Yeah. So I think, and I don't think it's a pressure thing. Like, I'm my own person. So, you know, if I decide that I never want to go 5-star, then that's fine. And, you know, I can make my own way, maybe just doing young horses. Or if I decide I want to go 5-star and want to go to the Olympics and all of that, like my dad has, my mum has, then I can do that. So I personally, I want to like go all the way to the top and be like, you know, Laura Collett and all those people. That's why I try and surround myself with those types of people to feed off of their knowledge and things. But yeah, I've never been pressured. It's always been, you do what you want to do, we'll support it. But yeah, it's always been like that.
Perfect. Great answer.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Amelia, you have, like I was saying earlier, you had a very long day. You were up early getting home and then doing all your barn chores. So I know it's not too late over there, but you probably want to have some dinner and
yeah,
hit the rack so you can be ready to go and hustle and work hard tomorrow. So I want to thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate you taking the time, even with Rick's technical issues that he had in the beginning.
That's okay.
Sorry about that, Amelia.
It's okay.
So listen, Amelia, thank you. Have a great time going to Italy with your dad. I know he's going to be amazing. So we're really excited to be cheering him on. And yeah, good luck with everything. Obviously, we'll be in touch and hopefully we'll have you back on the show celebrating some major victory here in the very near future.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah,
thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you're the best. So thank you, everybody, for joining the show. We really appreciate it. And we will be back with another awesome, action-packed Rick and John show here in very short order. So have a great one, and thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
We have an awesome show for you guys today.
The greatest eventer of all time.
Good news for the sport.